The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a platform and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. These Best You EXPO talks are recorded in front of a live audience in a live event. We highly recommend that you focus on the message. As they say, what you focus on expands. Enjoy. Brian Rose. Brian is originally from California, and he's the founder of London Real, a new media and transformation company which produces weekly live video talk shows and documentary films with the greatest minds on the planet. London Real has broadcasted Brian's conversations with over 500 top influencers, and collectively they have been watched by over 100 million times. He has also released a full feature-length documentary film. Brian holds a degree in mechanical engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and moved to London 16 years ago as an investment banker. After finding success in the world of finance, Brian had an epiphany while staying at Richard Branson's chalet in Switzerland, and he realized that he hated his work, his life, and himself. He resigned and created London Real, which is now an internationally recognized brand famous for exploration of the power of honesty, vulnerability, empowerment, and transformation. I've had the pleasure of seeing, like many of us, Brian and London Real grow to what it is now. It's just a phenomenal platform with tremendously inspiring videos with all these great minds. Not only that, it's just been great to see how he started, because, we started, I remember starting The Best You more or less at the same time. And it's just been a great journey to see him. And to have him speaking at The Best You EXPO was great. He brought a big crowd, great energy. There's also an opportunity in another podcast to listen to the interview he did with me, plus also a Q&A. So I'm sure you're going to love his talk. The title of his talk is Pull the Trigger and Transform Yourself. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to love it. So have fun. Take care. All the best.
So look, I'm super excited to talk to you today. I want to talk to you about something that I am obsessed with. I'm absolutely obsessed with. It's this concept of transformation. Who here wants to make a transformation? I know I do. I constantly want to make transformations. I'm fascinated with people who transform. You've probably seen me talk to them and broadcast those stories. And I'm fascinated with transforming other people. Now, what does that mean, transformation? It means being someone that you don't even recognize, right? So look at this fella here. Before this transformation, he was stuck up in this cocoon thinking, wow, it's very dark and very quiet in this world. But bam, now he's got the wings, he's flying around, it's pretty amazing. And that's what I try to do with myself every year. Me and my team, we say, I don't want to recognize who we are 12 months from now. And that's transformation. And tonight I want to share with you my story of my own transformation and the transformation of over 3,000 students that I've taught to over the past 4 years. And also the transformation of 500 of the greatest people in the world that I've had the pleasure of broadcasting their messages. So I really want to talk about that. But before we get there, I want to ask the question you're probably all thinking of, which is who the hell are you, right? Who am I? Well, I'm a lot of things. I used to be a lot of different things. And hopefully a year from now, I'm someone completely different because I want to constantly be transforming. So I'll ask you, who the hell are you? And who the hell are you? Is it who you want to be? Or do you want to be a better version of yourself? Someone with better health or better wealth or more of an impact on the world or better relationships? That's really what I'm talking about. I want to talk about going to the next level. So I'm always asking myself, who are you, Brian? And I've been so many different things. And I want to talk to you today about the different things I've been. And I want to share with you a transformation system that I've created that you can use to transform yourself. And I'm going to share that with you. It's 9 steps. I've really never talked about it before, but you can use it even today to start your first transformation. And so let's get into who the hell I am right now. And I am this guy. I'm the founder of London Real. We've been broadcasting incredible messages for the past 8 years from our studios in Shoreditch. I've had over 500 people on my show. Who here has seen London Real? Raise your hand. Yes? Who are some of your favorite guests? Shout them out. You. Come on. Who? Mantak Chia. Yes, Mr. Sexual Energy. I love Mantak Chia. Who else? Anyone else? Who? Wim Hof. Yes. Jim Quick, the smart brain guy. Yeah, how about you? Dan Pena. Who likes Dan Pena? The $50 billion man. Ooh, he's bad, right? Yeah, so Dan Pena is one of my mentors, the $50 billion man. I love him and hate him equally. You, who's your favorite guest? Who? Grant Cardone. Who likes Grant Cardone? Mr. 10X. Yes, I like Grant Cardone. You, who? Yell it out. Joe Dispenza. Who likes Dr. Joe? Yeah, amazing energy, Joe Dispenza. So I've had the pleasure of being able to meet these people, and they all are transformation artists. They all started from nothing and created great things, and I want to share with you what I learned from them tonight. But yes, I broadcast all their messages out. Dan Pena, Joe Dispenza. And we ran the numbers the other day, and so far, 250 million people in the world have been touched by our messages here at London Real. And that makes me super proud because my job is to create transformation. That's what I want to do. I want to create a mass-scale transformation of humanity into a fully empowered, cooperative, and collaborative species. That's what I want from all of you, and that's what I want to talk about today. And so this is a typical day in the office for me. I'm hanging out here. And this is London Real Studios. I like to say this is the American version of what London looks like. And it's a little over the top here. We got the flags. We got the dog. His name is Winston. And we got the typewriters on the wall. And I have conversations here. Real deep conversations, 2 hours long, 3 hours long. And we broadcast them in 6 camera high definition video, and we give them out free to anybody who wants them to transform. And that's our mission here, because that's what we want people to do. Who knows who this guy is? Who's that? Grant Cardone, right? Mr. 10X himself, right? And I'll be honest, when I first heard about Grant Cardone, I didn't like him at all. I was like, who the hell is this guy? He sits on top of his jet? Like, what's going on? He's throwing money everywhere. He's riding around in Benzos and Rolls Royces. I didn't like him. But I sat him down in that chair, and 12 minutes in, he's like, Brian, I lost my father when I was a kid. My brother died. I was addicted to drugs at 21 years of age. My mother said, get out of my sight. I never want to see you again. Don't come around me high again. This man struggled. This man transformed, and he's created this amazing empire, soon to be a billionaire. I think everyone's a billionaire these days, soon to be billionaire. And that's what I like. I like to go dark and deep. I like to show you that these are normal people just like you and me, and they've created this transformative experience. And so I love having him on there. I had Elena Cardone as well. Does anybody know Elena? She wrote a book called Build an Empire. And I read her whole book. And I was like, Elena, I'm so excited to have you on the show. I read your whole book. And she said, oh, Grant didn't read my book. And Grant was right there. And I was like, Grant? He's like, nope, haven't read her book. And so it was funny. I had them both on the show. They were amazing. Grant renamed my Instagram account while I was talking to his wife. It was London Real TV. Now it's The Real Brian Rose. And I was like, okay, Grant, we'll let you do that. And they're doing amazing things. And so this is what I get to do every day, broadcast these incredible messages, and again, try to get you to figure out how to transform. And that's what we do. But that's not all we do. About 4 years ago, I created the London Real Academy, and we've graduated now over 3,000 students from around the world in 87 different countries. And here we create 8-week programs to get them to start businesses, start podcasts, learn how to publicly speak, learn how to accelerate their lifestyles. And this is where I can really get in there and show them my transformation system. I can mentor them, I can hold them accountable, and we can really get them to go across to the next level. It's been an amazing journey. I love transforming people just as much as I love transforming myself. And I want to talk to you about that today. This is me at one of our graduation events. We do these every quarter here in London at our brand new studios and world headquarters in Shoreditch. And I'm doing a master class. We get hundreds of people that fly in from around the world, from places like Australia and Africa and South America. And we have a weekend together where we bond, we do more master classes, and these people become friends for life. We've had people create $1 million businesses. We've had people do TED Talks, write books, and even people get married from my course. No divorces yet. And so that's us. And this is a graduation picture from our last event. This was Busaba restaurant here in London. And these are just all the people who were there. I think maybe some of them are here in this audience. And I want you to look at this picture, because what you're going to see here, right there, is a future billionaire, a future TED speaker, a future New York Times best-selling author, a future change maker, because these people are transforming their lives. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, my transformation system. But I'm showing you all this not necessarily to brag about what we do, but I want to show you because this is a transformation itself, because it looked about 8 years ago like this. This is how London Reels started. It was really simple, really humble, right? We got the cords at the bottom there, not very pretty, right? We have the arm microphones and the pop shields. I've got webcams, I've got computers. It was all really basic just to get things started. That's what we were doing. I even got that keyboard over on the side. That's not for me to play music like Elton John. That was me to digitize the sound. I knew nothing, but I knew I had to pull the trigger and start. And so London Reel has been a transformation for me. And a lot of people watch our shows and they listen to our content and they say, Brian, you're inspirational. Does anybody here think the content is inspirational? It's a bit of a trap. I have a love-hate relationship with this word. Actually, it's not true. I hate this word. I don't like inspiration. Inspiration for me feels like something you get excited and then you go back to your normal everyday life and you don't do anything. You don't make a change. You don't start the business. You don't go speak publicly. You don't make an impact. I hate inspiration. It makes me sick. I think most of Instagram is inspiration porn. I don't like it. I want to be transformational. That's what I'm here to talk to you about today. I want to give you a system where you can actually get something done. I don't want to motivate you. I don't want to inspire you. I want to get you to transform. And that's really what I want to talk about today. But to get there, I want to walk you through some of my own transformations. And I'll tell you some of the things I learned that you can use in your transformation. And so I thought we'd start back in San Diego, California, if you don't mind, where I'm having probably a bad hair day here. And this is me in 1978. And I don't know what kind of mother does this, but when you put the name of the child on their own t-shirts, I mean, that's how you get beat up at school, right? I mean, what was she thinking? Betty Rose, what were you thinking? Baby, tell my mom, what was she thinking? So this is me. It's like 1978. I have no idea what's coming in this world. I don't know I'm going to move to London. I don't know I'm going to be a broadcaster. But I'm just looking out thinking, what's next? What's next for this transformation? And so I want to go through with you tonight a few of my transformations that I've done over the past few decades and what I've learned from them. My first big transformation was this. And this is me graduating in 1993. I had just become an engineer, a mechanical engineer at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This was taken in Cambridge, Massachusetts. This was a sunny day in June. I remember the president of Mexico spoke at my graduation. He was talking about something called NAFTA, but I didn't care because I was graduating. You can see the dark circles under my eyes. I had been drinking all night with my fraternity brothers, but I had actually accomplished something. I was super proud. My grandma came, my grandmother, my grandpa from Colorado, from Arizona, and this was a big deal for me. And I had actually managed to get all A's my first semester, and I was by far one of the stupidest people here, but I managed to figure out a way to accomplish this goal in 4 years. And so I was really proud and I was really happy. But what did I do next? I didn't actually go to work as an engineer. I became a banker. I moved to Wall Street and I became a banker. I remember taking the subway down to the World Trade Center, the old one, and I walked out of there. I remember staring up at the Trade Center thinking I must look like a tourist. But I was just so amazed that at 22 years old, I was starting on this new transformation experience. I wanted to go there and be a banker. And I remember I walked across to One Liberty Plaza. I took an elevator to the 33rd floor. And out of one window was the Statue of Liberty, and the other window was the World Trade Center. And they gave me a phone to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and said, go. And I was just enthralled. And I kept doing the banking world. I moved to London in 2002, and I worked for a company called ICAP PLC for 9 years. I was a credit derivatives broker. A lot of my clients were names like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and HSBC and other banks you see in the news committing fraud every day. These were my clients. And I got really good at doing what I was doing. They used to have these phones, and I would have two phones, so I could talk to two different people at the same time when I was trying to close deals. And these phones had these clickers on the phone where you could mute yourself out. So I got really good where I could actually lie to two different people at the same time. And then when I was really good, I could actually lie to my colleagues at the same time. And so that was my life as a banker. And I made millions of dollars every year. And I had a big 2-story place in Shoreditch with a king-size bed and a widescreen TV and no furniture. And I was depressed and I was unhappy and I was slowly drinking myself to death. And that's what I was doing. Mariana, you remember that place, right? No furniture. And that's when it was time for a new transformation. And so that's when I decided to become a broadcaster. I walked out of banking. I had no plans. I had no experience in broadcasting. I didn't know how to pick up a camera. I didn't know how to be behind a camera. I'm naturally an introvert. I would rather not be up here right now. I'd rather be with you in the seat. I'd rather be at home watching Netflix, but it's not part of my mission. And so I started broadcasting. I knew nothing about microphones, about iTunes, about YouTube. There was no Instagram. There was nobody doing this, but I really wanted to find a way to do this, and it's allowed me to transform into an incredible person. But I wasn't done there. I started getting used to this transformation thing, and I was like, what else can I do? What else am I scared of? And I was scared of this thing in a big, big way. I was scared of becoming a father. For me, that was the ultimate commitment. I was going to be Rambo my whole life, the lone wolf. You know, I remember talking to my dad before this, and he said, you should get a dog. And I was like, Dad, it's too much commitment to get a dog. And so this scared the hell out of me, right? Scared the hell out of me because I just worried. I worried I might get hurt or it might be the wrong thing. But this was a transformed experience. And thanks to Mariana, who pushed me to do this.
If you're interested in speaking, exhibiting, or getting involved in the largest personal development expos in the world, contact us today at www.thebestyouexpo.com or send us an email to info@thebestyou.co.
I still remember New Year's Eve near that bachelor pad where she made a wish for New Year's. And I said, what was your wish, baby? And she said, 2 boys and a girl. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I thought she saw 2 boys and a girl from across the street. And she was saying 2 boys and a girl. And she said, no, that's what I want. 2 boys and a girl. I was like, you're obviously insane because I'm not going to do that. But of course, she is smarter than me and more transformative than me. And so this happened 2 years ago at 45 years old. I became the father of Damon and Caden. And I also have a stepdaughter as well. And it's been an incredible journey making that transformation. I've learned so much about it. And I wasn't done. Last year, I made another transformation. And I went down to Costa Rica to drink the plant medicine ayahuasca. Does anyone here know anything about ayahuasca or psychedelics? It's very serious stuff. And you go into your brain for some serious transformations. Now, why did I need to do that? Because I'm constantly trying to transform. I'm trying to find the next version of myself that I want to go to. And I think all of you need to transform. If I come here a year from now, I sure as hell hope I'm not the same person I am today. I need to be new versions of myself. And this is me continuing this progress and transforming as a psychonaut. And then again, last year, I actually became an Ironman. And one of my guests from the show, his name was John Joseph. He's the lead singer of the hardcore punk band, the Cro-Mags. He's an old school New Yorker. He was a Hare Krishna monk. He was a vegan for 30 years. And he smoked a lot of crack back in the day as well. He's now sober. And he came into my studio and he challenged me to race an Ironman. He said, Brian, you're going to do it in 90 days on a 100% plant-based diet. I said, John, I've never done an endurance swim before. I've never done an endurance bike or an endurance run. He said, you're going to do it. And I went to New York with him, and I went and faced a bunch of my old demons, from drugs to all the things that happened to me in New York City. And last year on May 20th in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I crossed the finish line and completed the Ironman. And we made a movie about it called Iron Mind, which you can watch out there. And so I've learned all of these concepts of how to transform, and I want to teach you how you can do this tonight in any aspect of your life, because there's a process here and there's a pattern. And once you start doing it, you realize that all the fears and all the self-doubt and the self-talk will just melt away if you can put these 9 steps into this process. And I want to share those with you, because you can really accomplish anything you want to. You just have to get into that process. And so that's why I believe that we're all here to transform ourselves. I believe it's each one of your jobs for being a human, right? We have these wonderful bodies. We can move them. We can eat food. We can experience emotions. We can be inspired. We can learn. Well, guess what? You have to pay for that, in my opinion. You need to transform yourself. That's why you're here. You're not here to watch Netflix and hang out and take it easy. You're here to become the best version of yourself, to inspire your friends and your family and your children and your colleagues and your community and your country and the whole world. That's why we're here. I believe we're all on a mission to do this. Otherwise, what's the point? And so, why is this so hard then, right? We all admire people that do this, right? We look at fighters like Muhammad Ali and Conor McGregor and people like Mahatma Gandhi and musicians like Kanye West and all these people. Why is this so hard? Because we know we should do it. Well, it's so hard because our minds are wired to keep us safe. We grew up as monkeys, right? We were in the jungles. We moved out to the savannas. We get into these hunter-gatherer tribes. And there were a lot of things to be scared of. Noises, where's the food, bad weather, wolves, animals, not to mention the rest of the tribe. What happens if they get rid of me? I've got to be nice to people, or I've got no food, I've got no protection, I can't reproduce. So you're all hardwired to play it safe. And I think we're all just sitting around playing it safe most of the time. And so you've got to have that conversation with your brain, and you've got to beat that battle with your own brain. How many people here believe they're at a war with their own brains every single day? Well, you all are. We all are. And who's going to win? That's what I wake up every day. Who's going to win? Me or the brain? The brain that wants me to take it easy and be scared and not do that and not do that? Or is it the brain that says, no, we got to pull the trigger? Because our lizard brain wants to protect us and keep us safe. But our frontal cortex knows if you want to live a life of meaning, you must take risks. Period. Right? 40, 50, 60 years from now, we'll all be dead. What will you have done? What's the risk that you will have taken? And so that's what I want to talk about today. How can we get you to go ahead and make that transformation? And that's why I want you to convince you today to pull the trigger. Now, what do I mean by that? I think each one of you is walking around with a loaded gun right now. All of you have a loaded gun. And inside it is a bullet, and it's got your name on it. It's all of your potential energy you have, all the people you can inspire, the businesses you could create, the speeches you could do, all of the love you could give. It's waiting there, sitting there, and you walk around with this loaded gun all day and you don't do anything. It's one finger pull from exploding into something incredible. You could focus that energy into one place and do great things, but you don't. So I'm here to convince you today to pull that trigger. Whatever you do something. Let that energy go and let it flow. And so I want to show you a process that I've learned, and I've taught to over 3,000 people on how you can transform yourself today. And I'd like you to walk out of here in 15 minutes and have something you want to start on today to run what I call your first loop. And so let me talk about my system that I want to show you. This is a new piece of technology that we've developed. And this is one of the reasons why probably you would have failed in the past. And I'll show you why you can be successful. And here it is. This is my 9-step transformation system. And if you follow every single one of these steps, you can accomplish anything you want. And if you've failed in the past, it's because you've failed in one of these steps. Now, let me ask everybody here, has anyone ever done something they're proud of? Have you ever accomplished something that you think is great? Come on. You might, even when you're a kid. You got the spelling bee, you made the game-winning goal, you asked that Valentine out when you were 10. You did something right. So you have run this loop before. You just don't know why you did it or how it works. But you've done this before. But as we get older, we get lazier, we get more cynical, we get more risk averse, and we forget how to do this. So today I want to show you exactly how. It's got 9 steps. Let me walk you through them. The first one is idea inception. The second one is visualize your future. The third one is find a mentor. The fourth one is pay price to action. Very important. Number 5 is create your game plan. Number 6 is take action. Number 7 is be held accountable. Number 8 is fight that resistance. And number 9, accomplish your goal. That is super important. These are the 9 steps. And we've got 3 stages. The first 3 steps are what I call find your calling. You all have a calling that you need to find out. The next step is what I call be the hero. That's for number 4, 5, and 6. And finally, the last part is what I call slay the dragon. Cut the head off that thing you want to transform. Get what you want. Stop waiting around. Why are you waiting? Now is the time to take action today. And so I want to walk you through this process. I've reverse engineered this from my whole life through transformation, from teaching 3,000 students over the last 4 years. I have created this and I want to share it with you tonight. So let's talk about these steps. You can use this for anything that you want to do, any loop that you want to do. If you want better health, better wealth, better relationships, and impact on the world, you can run this as much as you want. I've run this all the time. I'm currently running about 14 of these loops as we speak, and they can be used in all sorts of ways. Let me talk about how this works. Does anyone want to see how this works? Yes? Okay, cool. Let me show it to you. Step 1 is something I call idea inception. Very, very important here. Everything begins with a thought, and then comes the action. Those are the words of Dorian Yates, one of my guests on London Real. He's a 6-time Mr. Olympia. And that's exactly what he did. His life started with a thought. He was a poor kid in Birmingham, living in a council flat, no money, no parents, but he had a dream to become Mr. Olympia, and that transformed him in the world. And that's what he did. It started with an idea. All of your transformations is going to start with an idea. Maybe you're going to get one right now. Maybe you'll get one from someone out here. My job is to get as many ideas in your head as possible, and that's what you want to do. Now, where do you get these ideas that are going to change your life? Well, before digital media, where did these come from? Well, if you look back in the Bible, there's this story about the prodigal son, right? What did he do? He left home. He went searching for ideas. Back in the day, what would they do? People would go off to travel. They would go to a learning institution. They would get an apprentice at a job. They would just get away from their parents, right? That's what they had to do because they wanted new ideas so they could start transforming their life. That's what I'm talking about. But now we have digital media, and now we've got ideas coming from everywhere. And guess what? Most of it is garbage. It really is. Most of the stuff that we consume in our brain is not going to allow us to transform. Does anybody here watch the news or read newspapers? These are the kind of things that aren't very good at putting a brand new idea in your head that's going to help you transform. What about Netflix? I don't know. I don't think binge watching something for 14 hours is going to get that idea that's going to do the inception. What about your Instagram feed? Well, maybe, but maybe not. That's a lot of entertainment. That's a lot of people scaring you in the news. That's not necessarily going to help transform you. So what do I mean? Well, it's about getting those right ideas in your head. And I think the best way to do that is with long-form conversations and long-form content. Of course, I would say that because I founded London Real, but the truth is that all of you have been touched by people like Joe Dispenza, by people like Dan Pena, Wim Hof. That's because you listened to two people have a long, nuanced conversation. You understood something fascinated you, and you pulled the trigger and went to the next step. So whatever you do, flood your brain with all sorts of good, high-quality ideas. Use London Real, use Joe Rogan, use Tim Ferriss, read books, watch documentary films, but you got to flood your head with good ideas for one of them to take hold. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Constantly be putting these great ideas in your head, and don't put negative ideas there. The news, newspapers, dramatic, episodic television, I don't think is going to help us transform. So that's step one. Let's talk about step two. Visualize your future. You need to get that idea, and then you need to visualize yourself in brand new Technicolor. I remember when I was a kid, 7 years old, I was in science class. Someone said, MIT. I said, what's MIT? They said, it's one of the greatest institutions in the world. I was like, wow, I could visualize myself there. When I was an engineer, someone said, Wall Street. Wall Street? I said, what's that? And they were like, well, that's where you can go and make a lot of money. And I visualized myself being Gordon Gekko and making tons of money and crushing my enemies. That was me visualizing my future. So if you have an idea, you need to visualize it in 3D, Technicolor. You need to see yourself just owning that whole space. And I always tell my students, go Hollywood about it. If you think maybe I want to go and get into yoga, think of yourself as the greatest yogi that ever lives, all right? If you want to be an actor, just see yourself as The Rock. You know, if you want to be a public speaker, think of yourself as the greatest one out there. Whatever you do, visualize your future and really etch it in your brain that that's exactly what you want. So that's step two of this process. Step three is find your mentor. How many people here have a mentor? They're hard to find. See, we have some good. A mentor is absolutely crucial if you want to get to the next level. If you haven't transformed, you probably haven't found the right mentor yet. And that's why this is really important. What is a mentor? I ask myself this a lot. A mentor is another human being who embodies that transformation you want to make. They're the best of that best. Someone that is just a great version that can show you the way and really inspire you. Now, I'm a martial artist myself. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Thai boxing. Anybody here train the martial arts? A few? Okay, I see you back there. Well, if you speak to a lot of martial artists, they all have one guy that was their mentor when it came to becoming great martial artists. There was that one person that inspired them from back in the day that make them start up all of these martial arts. Does anyone know who I might be talking about? Does anybody know who that might be? For a lot of people, that's Bruce Lee. He was their mentor. And he inspired them to go and fight in the UFC and become these great boxers. But the truth is, he's dead. So your mentor does not actually have to be alive. You need someone that's going to inspire you and push you to be that great version of yourself. So it could be someone from a book. It could be someone like Bruce Lee. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's even better when they're dead because they can't put out stupid tweets and make you and die in your eyes. Sometimes these people can really inspire you. It could be a virtual mentor like Dan Pena, like Joe Rogan, like London Real. It's someone that's going to help get you to the next level. Ideally, it's someone in person who can sit there and talk to you and really advise you and push you to get to the next level. Have a mentor. If you haven't had one in the past, it's a good reason why you might have failed.
Having promoted more than 600 speakers and more than 65,000 people attend my seminars and courses and workshops and expos, having read so many books and attended so many courses, I really realized that the basics of personal, professional growth is based on the power of the question. Asking yourself empowering questions. Read my new book, The Question, Find Your True Purpose. It's based on my work, 30 years of entrepreneurship, all the experiences that I have, my manifesto, and what's really important. So for more information, go to www.thequestion.co.
Now we're getting into the huff stuff. That was find your calling. Now we're going to be the hero. This is step 4. Pay price to action. Has anyone ever heard of this concept? Pay price to action. No, because no one ever talks about this. This is one of the most crucial parts when it comes to transformation. It's pay price to action. What do I mean by pay price to action? It means this. I'm willing to sacrifice something important to me in order to get something that I really want. And if I don't do that sacrifice, it's going to be easy to quit when I'm trying to get there. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, pay price to action, the people are most familiar with is putting money for something. Say I hire a personal trainer and I pay them 50 pounds. Well, if I don't show up, I lose the money. So it's going to make me really go and do that personal training session that I don't want to do. In my academy, I charge people thousands of dollars. When it comes to week 5 and they want to quit, they don't want to walk away from what they've invested. What about if you're married? Anybody married here? There's a pay price to action there. When you decide to get married, you're saying, guess what? Single worlds, dating, I'm walking all the way from that. Swiping left and swiping right, I can't do that anymore. You pay the price to action, you sacrifice to get something better. And when I'm in that ayahuasca ceremony, I'm paying a price to action. You're damn right I am. Because I'm going to a place where I'm out of control. I'm going to have a lot of negative energy. It's going to be a really difficult thing to do, but I'm willing to do it to get to the next level. And without a pay price to action, without some skin in the game, it's easy to walk away from what you want to do. And I would argue for a lot of people here, the reason you haven't made that transformation is because you can walk away too easy. Put a pay price to action there and you will get to the next level. I used to teach my courses for free inside my academy. 8-week courses, I would teach people how to start a business, how to start a podcast, how to publicly speak. Do you know how many people graduated when it was free? Zero. Because in week 5 and week 6, I'm asking them to do things that are uncomfortable. For 56 days in a row, I'm getting you out of your comfort zone. Brian, I can't do a live webinar. I'm not ready to create my digital product. I can't go on stage. I don't want to go on iTunes. I'm like, yeah, okay, we got to go. Unless you do a pay price to action, you won't be willing to do the difficult things. And now students pay the price to action at the end. They make $20,000, $30,000. They do TED Talks. They write books. And they're like, Brian, I wouldn't have done it without the pay price to action. So whatever you do, make sure you have skin in the game. You've got something on the line. Otherwise, you're going to fail every single time. And I always like to tell this story. When I was a banker, I wanted to learn how to meditate. And back then, it was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there was no Headspace, there was no YouTube. And so I found a transcendental meditation course. Does anybody know TM? They run a great workshop. But they wanted $2,000 to get me to teach me how to meditate. And I was like, $2,000? But I had no option, so I said, okay. And I got to the course, and it wasn't what I expected. They were playing me videotapes of the Maharisha, and he was dead, and I was like, who is this guy? And they're like, you need to bring a piece of fruit and a handkerchief to the ceremony. And I was like, I don't know what this is. And they said, you need to also, we're going to give you a mantra, and it's based on your birthday. And I was like, I don't know, this seems weird, but I paid my money. So I went to every single one of the training and every single one of the courses. And this morning when I woke up, do you know what I did? I meditated. And if I hadn't had the pay price to action, I would have walked on that course. But because I had the pay price to action, I did everything they say and I finished, and now I have this skill, this transformation. I meditate every single day, and it allows me to do everything I do. So look in your life where you're missing this and make sure you put that pay price to action in there. And it could be something that's monetary or not, but make sure you incorporate that in your process. Let me keep going here. Number 5, create your game plan. If you don't have a plan, it's not going to happen. And you got to have things that are specific and measurable and time sensitive. Has anyone seen the movie The Secret? And The Secret, it's a great movie. I had Joe Vitale on my show, but he said, Brian, things don't just come to you when you wish. You have to have a game plan. It's like a recipe. You have to have a mentor or someone to say you have to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You've got to have a plan. And a lot of times we know the plan, right? Does anybody here know how to lose weight? Anyone? Of course you do, right? Anyone here know how to get fit? Yes, we all do. If we all acted on the information we knew, we would all be billionaires with six packs, right? But we don't. And that's why this system is important, because if you miss one of these steps, you won't follow through on your game plan. Most people have the game plan. They don't have the other things. Let's talk about number 6, take action. Most of us will just never take action. A lot of you will go to these booths today, you'll hear my speech, and you'll go home, and Monday, there will be no action. You must take some action. My job as a mentor is to give you the smallest amount of action you can take to get you on that momentum. But you must do something. If you want to be a public speaker, do a vlog today. Go live on Facebook today. Go speak in front of 2 people today and say 3 things. Mariana came up here for the first time and introduced me today, right? Impressive. That's her taking action. It was 1 minute, but next year she's going to be up here. I'll be in the audience, right? So that's taking action. Make sure you take that action. Otherwise, this is all nonsense. This is all blah, blah, blah. So make sure you do that. All right, we're getting into the back 3 here. This is where we finally slay the dragon. This is where most people stop. This is where most people fail. And that's number 7, be held accountable. What does that mean? Being held accountable. What do you think that means? It means that there's another human out there that you feel is watching you to do something, and you care about what they think, and you're willing to do something you would normally rather quit in order to make them at least somewhat happy. Now, it doesn't have to be someone you know. I'm accountable to all of you today to come up here and teach you this system. I never met any of you, well, a couple of you, right? But I knew that I signed up for this, and I was being held accountable to all of you to come up here and give you the best goddamn speech I could, right? And to show you can transform. That's me being held accountable. And if you can find a way to be held accountable in your life, whether it's a mentor or a friend or a wife or a group of people, you will get there. And if you don't, you won't. And when I started London Real 8 years ago, I was accountable to everyone because I said this simple statement: I will publish a new episode of London Real every Sunday without fail. And I was accountable to all of these people out there. Well, it was like one person in the beginning that was watching me, right? But I felt accountable to all of these people. And I remember 1 week at London Real, I had no guests. And it was like Thursday, Friday, and I was like, I've already invited all my friends on the show. I got nobody left. And there was a homeless dude outside of Tesco, and I kept looking at him, and I was like, I bet that guy's got a cool story. I'm like, I'm going to ask the homeless guy to be on my show. And so I was all nervous, and I went up to him, and I was like, hi, my name's Brian. I host London Real. Would you like to be on my show? And he said no. He said, I've already been on the BBC. True story. And he had already been on BBC Radio and told the story, and he said, no, I won't do it. And so, but it shows you how desperate I was to be held accountable to all of you. And I found someone else on Saturday, and we taped the show. But it was just a show that I was willing to do something out of my comfort zone because I was being held accountable to other people. And you need to find that person that you're accountable. When you talk about that thing that you've done that you were proud of when you were a kid, you were being held accountable. It could have been a parent or a coach or a teammate, someone you were being held accountable. Inside my academy, I split up my students into groups of 20 people. And they're from all around the world, and they've never met each other. But they're responsible each week to win prizes and to compete against each other. And they all hold each other accountable, and they do things they normally would quit on. So this is a very important step. Find some way for you to be held accountable. Number 8 is fight resistance. Who knows what I'm talking about when it comes to resistance? Yeah, what's resistance? Tell me. What's resistance? Change, yes. Resistance is anything that keeps you from accomplishing your goal. And there's a great author named Stephen Pressfield. He's got a book called The War of Art. And in my TED Talk, I quoted him and said, resistance is directly proportional to the size of the goal you're trying to accomplish. So if you want to start a business or start a family or race an Ironman or publicly speak, you're going to get massive resistance, right? And where does it come from? Everywhere, everywhere. It can manifest itself in any way, right? Brexit is resistance, right? You hurt your knee, that's resistance. Bad weather, resistance. The economy's bad, resistance. It comes from everywhere. And the most important thing about resistance is don't get emotional about it and expect that it's going to come. And guess where a lot of resistance is going to come? From your friends and your family. They're going to say, what are you doing? That's crazy. And you're going to say, but you love me. Why aren't you supporting me? They're going to say, you're not spending money online. You're not trying to start a podcast. You're not doing that again. That's never going to work. That's just resistance. And so instead of blaming them and blaming all of the people in your life, expect the resistance and just move through it unemotionally. And do you know what the biggest source of resistance is? Who knows? It's right in there. All that self-talk, right? I'm not good enough. Nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody wants to buy my stuff. Nobody wants me to build my business. It's right inside your own head. You've got to get over it. And your brain can manifest all sorts of great excuses. When I was training for my Ironman, every weekend, every Saturday when I was running in kilometer 10, my knee would start hurting. I was like, really? Is that all you got? Or I'd be like, oh, I didn't have enough nutrition. I should take it easy. It was all resistance in my brain, all happening. And it was resistance everywhere trying to keep me from finishing that race. But it was internal because I was getting scared. I was getting scared about the big moment. And so watch yourself. For many of you, it's fighting resistance why you stopped. Oh, I stopped my business because the economy was bad, because my wife couldn't support me. Oh, I stopped my Ironman because I hurt my knee. That's all resistance. It is. So push through it and don't get emotional about it. Don't get angry. Expect it. Resistance is what keeps the suckers out. All right? If there was no resistance, everyone would have a business and everyone would be speaking and everyone would be making impacts. This is what really makes it worth it. So expect it and fight through it. And finally, accomplish your goal. This is super important, and I can be a bit of a hard ass about this. I don't want you to get close enough. You have to accomplish your goal. Otherwise, what's the point? And when I went to ran my Ironman race, I had a guy named Ross Edgley on my show. Does anybody know Ross? He just swam around the entire island of Great Britain. Well, you know him, right? And so he had trained with the Royal Marines, and the Royal Marines said, look, Ross, whenever you go to accomplish something that's difficult, just fixate it in your mind that you're going to finish no matter what. And so that's what I did on May 20th in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I got up to that start line and I had 70.3 miles to go. And I thought to myself, I'm going to finish this race no matter what. I'm going to finish it. So that's not a question. It could take me 6 months. I could be there with my bloody stumps trying to drag it. Mariana's like, when are you coming home? But I was going to finish that thing no matter what. And I decided that right when I started, I'm going to accomplish it. So whether it took me 6 months or 6 weeks or 6 days, ended up taking me just under 6 hours, I was going to finish that thing. And I did. And so that's the way you want to go into the mindset of these things. I'm finishing this. Because if you don't, the rest of the processes are pointless. So make sure you accomplish it. And that is the 9-step system. And in the past, you've all done this before, but you probably didn't realize you were doing it. And if you failed at something in the past, it's because of one of these things. And I would argue it's probably because you didn't have the mentor. You didn't pay the price to action. You weren't being held accountable, and you saw resistance as something that it wasn't. These are the things that can allow you to run this loop and transform yourself. Right now, I'm running about 14 of these loops. One of them is I'm teaching my young son, Caden, 2 years old, how to swim. Right? Every Sunday, I go, babe, with him for 2 hours. It's very difficult, but I'm running one of these loops. We have a mentor. I paid the price to action. I sacrifice 2 hours every single Sunday. So you're damn right we're going to be swimming soon, right? I've got a game plan. I've done all of these things. Another one of my loops is I'm trying to become the best break dancer in the world. Yes? Watch my Instagram feed, The Real Brian Rose. I can do 11 windmills, right? I can show you right now afterwards. And so I'm trying to be the best breakdancer ever. One of the loops I'm running is I'm trying to get London Real to $100 million in revenue. That's another loop. The fourth loop I'm trying to make Mariana the happiest woman in the world. Yeah? How am I doing? Yeah. Okay. So I'm constantly running these loops. And the other day I ran a loop. I did a 36-hour water fast. Has anyone ever done a water fast? It's where you don't eat for like 2 consecutive nights. I did this. I used this loop. I had Timothy Sheaf on my show. He just done a 30-day water fast. Idea inception. Bam. I visualized my future. I said, wait a second. What if I tried one of those? I always talk about doing it. I'm going to do a 36-hour fast. My mentor was right there, Timothy Sheaf. I paid the price to action. I told all my social media, I'm not going to eat food. I followed the game plan. I fought a lot of resistance. I had to do a 5K run that night with a bunch of my academy students that were in town. Resistance, right? I wanted to eat. Resistance. And then I accomplished my goal. Bam, that was done. 36 hours. I'm constantly running these loops. And so Once you start running these, you'll realize how easy it is. And once you do one loop, you'll see you can do it in all sorts of other things. It's just the same loop. Different emotions, different insecurities. For me, being a dad, it was different fears, but it's the same loop. And so my question to you is, what will be your first loop? What can you say that you're going to decide today to transform yourself in? And how can you run the loop? How can you get that idea? How can you visualize the future? How can you find the mentor? Pay the price to action. All of these things. Decide now. But once you run one loop, the next loop is easier, and the next loop is easier, and you start getting into this momentum. I've been transforming so much the last 3 years, it's getting scary. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to the moon next. I don't know what's happening. But this is something that you can really get into a habit of. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, something's weird today because I don't feel uncomfortable and I'm not fighting resistance. And I'm not running a big enough loop. And I'm like, okay, get back into it. And so there was a great samurai swordsman named Miyato Musashi, and he said, once you learn the way broadly, you see it in all things. And that's what I believe he was talking about, this transformation system. Once you see it in a small thing, you can apply it to a business, you can apply it to your relationships, to your life. I have a goal that's a 100-year plan. I want to transform every single human being on this earth with London Real. And guess what? I'll probably be dead. But that's okay. That's one of these loops I'm running. I want to run this massive loop, and I want to constantly be running loops. And so I just want you all to decide, and maybe you can come up later today and tell me, what are you going to do to transform yourself? Because I believe that's why we're here on this earth. We're not here, to hang out. We're not here to watch Netflix. We're not here to eat jelly donuts. We're here to transform ourselves. That's what your friends need. That's what your family needs, your community, this country, the world. It's time to really go in and transform yourself. Imagine if all of London right now decided to make a transformation, even a small one. This whole place would be buzzing with energy. The GDP would double. Everything would be incredible. And so I believe we're all have a duty to do that, and that's why we're here. And so please think of something now on how you can transform yourself. And again, I will be here afterwards if anyone wants to take a picture with me. I've also got a bunch of people here from my London Real Academy. And if you're interested in building a business from your passion, if you're interested in public speaking, if you're interested in starting your own podcast, please do that. We need more ideas out there. We need idea inception, less news, more podcasts. If you want to accelerate your lifestyle, I can help you do it. I can teach you the system over 8 weeks, and I've got people here that can help. But one thing you must do regardless, do something today to transform yourself. Do that little thing and run this system and go out there and absolutely crush it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.